Alright, yo, what up, everyone? This is Aquas from the Shooting Game Weekly. This is episode number 50. Yeah, number 50. And it's episode special. It's not usual type of thing we do. In fact, this time we're going to be talking all about Deathsmiles, Deathsmiles North American localization. And we have a Deathsmiles Illuminaire here with us to actually talk a lot about it. She was the PR specialist on the Deathsmiles project. We're joined by Kaire on this episode, and Frenetic and I are going to be basically interviewing her and talking about how the localization kind of went for Deathsmiles. It's kind of an interesting topic just because, it was the first cave game to get localized. And that type of thing, and so there was a lot of excitement for Deathsmiles definitely when it came out. I know I was pretty pumped when I went to the GameStop. We got that day one, and
Oh yeah,
and
I got that day one too.
and just the awkwardness of getting the box and talking. Like, I was talking to the guy, I tried to talk about the guy about the game, and he's I was just so hyped. But in any case, it was good. It was good. So yeah, Kaire, how are you doing today?
I'm tired. I work at arcade actually. I won't say which one, but and I work really late. So I'm actually excited to be here because this is fun for me. That's my life, arcade stuff. So and I went back to it. So it's not console, it's arcade first. And that's where I am now.
So
Go ahead.
yeah, so give us some background on how you got into arcades. Like you had mentioned a little bit earlier that you've been into arcades since you've been for 15, and then maybe we'll go for there, a little biographical info.
Okay. Let's see. I got lucky. Some people when they get their jobs, it's through word of mouth. And I worked at here in Southern California. We had tons of arcades here in the 90s, and I got lucky and I started doing like cashier work at Cyber Lead, and it's a arcade out in little Koreatown. I don't think it's there anymore, but that's where I got my start. Since there, I've worked for anything you think of: Nickel, Dave and Buster's, GameWorks, some of the littler ones.
Wow.
I used to work at Super a long time ago when it was owned. Its original owner when he was called Western Arcade.
Wow.
Everywhere. I used to live in Japan. I worked at some arcades in Japan, Pinocchio's and Asashi,
Whoa.
Osaka. I've been everywhere, and like I think arcade management is like, I don't know. It's always been fun. It's like never really been a job, and it's really natural. And I got to experience all the new hits right when they come out, and like look at all the kits when they're brand new out of the box, and it's always been exciting. The energy of the arcade is nothing compared to any LAN party or regional event for fighting games, or it's there's nothing compared to it. When you have when you have a tournament at an arcade, there's a great reverence because this is in front of real people. Your money's on the line, and nothing can replace that. So you can see, like when I worked on Deathsmiles, it was really important that it came out in the United States. It had to come out here, and it had to be. We had to have some type of reverence for it, and I'm glad I got in that project. And it was a fluke that I did, and just like I got into the arcade scene, same thing with.
So what would you say was the difference between, like, I guess U.S. arcade and Japanese arcade culture? Like, is there similarities, differences?
Japanese arcades, the American arcades kind of have a stigma where the bad kids go there, and a lot of drug deals, and kids get their ass kicked and stuff like that. And Japan is quite the opposite. Like, everyone goes to arcade, it's normal. It's like going to the library, And it's not, the energy level at the arcade is much different in Japan than it is in the United States. In the United States, there's a lot of hostility, but that's like kind of the appeal though for a lot of like especially fighter types and music types of like the music genre. It's like I'm better than you, and I'm gonna show you in front of everyone. That's the kind of mentality in America. In Japan, it's more like I'm better than you, but you don't have to watch if you don't want to. You know,
Oh,
so
okay.
it's a little more relaxed in the Japanese arcades. And American arcades is really intense. And I think when professional players like from Japan come to the United States, are like, if they ever come to our arcades, they'll notice like that it's very intense here in the United States. The ones that are left, you know. But I mean, both are great. I love both, you know, and sometimes I don't need that intensity. And as I think, oh, I wish I was at a Japanese arcade where people just leave me alone. Where,
Okay.
oh God, I want to be at an American arcade because I need really good competition and I need it to be in my face, you know.
Ah. How would you say the shmup player archetype in Japanese arcades work? Because we don't get to see that in American arcades. Can you speak to that a little bit?
They have in Japan, like they have depending on if you're like in the main city, like if you're in Osaka or Tokyo, or in some places in Chiba, they have shmup houses where they only have shmups. They don't have everything else. They like,
Ooh.
and they're kind of eerie. And they're like 50-cent arcades, and 50-cent arcades have a bad connotation in Japan. They're where the bad kids go. They're like
They're kind of are they kind of scummy?
sketchy. Yeah, they're
Like gross, like
they're nasty.
definitely smoking, lots of smoking.
Oh, lots of smoking, lots of when I go to the bathroom, I'm standing, and not because I have to, because I do. They never have toilet paper. Like you have to bring your own, and like lots of sticky buttons, like what you would expect from an American arcade, honestly. But if you want to get better, and you don't want to spend that extra money, those are the arcades you want to go to because
You gotta grind it out, right?
right, you do, and you got to work hard. And you know, there was a kid I knew, like I heard Daigo, not Daigo, the Daigo, but this guy I knew, his name was Daigo, and he told me the only people who go to 50-cent arcades are people that want to learn. And I'm like, wow, okay. He goes, you pay 100 yen to show people what you've learned. Those are the big arcades, like Taito, and you know the big arcades like Taito and Sega Club and stuff like that. Those are where you perform. You go to work.
Oh, that is so interesting.
And I always thought that was cool. And so like when we get like candy cabs, like at my arcade, I always take off the 50-cent sticker and always save them because it reminds me, like it's like, yeah, it's time to go to work. And I would give them out as like little presents and stuff like that, the stickers, because they're just cool, you know. It's like something like a lot of people don't know, and I like to share that.
I wonder if all the players start out at the 50-cent arcade and then work their way up, or how does it work?
I don't know. I just know that like when you come into a 50-cent arcade, heads are down, and like I said, people are going to work. Like people don't look up at you when you come into a 50-cent arcade. It's like a bar, and everyone's got a problem.
That's so great. That's probably more true than you, me, or everyone else knows, you know? Wow.
Oh.
So, Aquas, Soda, did you guys want to ask her anything before we move on a little bit, or?
You're ready to move on.
Okay. So, Kaire, how did you move from like the arcade environment and then going to the video game industry, or the console game industry?
Like most companies, like it's kind of, I mean, like I knew arcade was struggling, and I was young, and I knew maybe console would be the better choice, and I decided to try to get a job in the game industry. And since I really didn't have any skills, I thought, well, maybe a game tester would be a good idea, and usually it is a good idea, and so I got my first job at Squaresoft, and I was a game tester for them. And from there, like, I just jumped from different companies: Konami, EA, Jamdat, all these different little companies, and I found my way to Axis. And I was originally a game tester at Axis at the beginning,
Did you just apply? Did they have game openings, or did you just find people in the industry and they said they had an opening? Or
Yeah, like yeah, I just went to their site and I'm like, I applied and I got an interview. It was pretty awesome. I was like, oh my god, this is so great, you know.
oh,
At the time, they were about to work on Battle Fantasia, and I was so excited because I really like Battle Fantasia. I mean, it was a narrative fighter, and that's what I needed to feed my soul. So. I know that game wasn't very popular, but it was such a well-made game, and I got to test it, and I was really excited. Like, maybe because I was like a little of a, you know, what's it called? Maybe because like my fandom, maybe that's the reason why they hired me. I don't know, but it was really great. Like I already had an insight on the game already, so when I played it for console, it's like, oh, this is wrong, and this is wrong. You know, I'm like, we need to change this. Tell Arc Systems to change this. You know. So I got an insight on the arcade industry and the arcade, like the way they played the game. It was nice to have that background. So it made me valuable, I guess, and that's kind of nice because now it seems like everyone has a tool set, and I didn't have one. And I guess the one I had was the arcade background, and that was nice. It helped. It helped push me forward.
I see. So you get to Axis, and did you start on Deathsmiles like right away, or did you have other games that you had worked on as a tester, and then when did you go on to be a PR specialist, I guess?
I worked for a couple of games. I think I had a couple of games under my belt before I was promoted, and maybe five or six games before I was promoted.
Oh, okay. Wow.
I really liked everyone there. It was really cool. It's like high school, you know. Everyone got along, and it was fun every day. I was commuting like 45 miles every day to go to Axis. I lived in Montebello, but I originally lived in Ontario. But I made the commute. For a time, I didn't have a car. I was driving a scooter there, and
holy crap!
Like
45 miles.
Yeah, I had a scooter, so it wasn't too bad. But we got on that. Deathsmiles came up. I was just ecstatic. I was like, I love Deathsmiles. That game is so great, and I'm really big on art and music, and they're very important in game design. And when I saw the art for it, I'm like, oh my god, is that the ESP Rade artist? Oh my god. I was like, what's going on here, you know?
Joker-jun, right?
Yeah.
And I'm like, I can't believe, like, are we really gonna bring this game out? They're like, yeah, you know, we're gonna try. And I'm like, yes, this is a good decision. We have to bring it out. We have to do our best.
Yeah, so you were. I remember we were talking earlier about how close everybody is, as far as the game industry in Japan. Like, can you speak a little bit of that, or what you feel comfortable talking about? Like,
I think I told you when we came to my arcade. Like, I'll say this: like, it just seems like everybody went to school with each other. Like, I know I talk about Axis being like, you know, high school, but it just seems like all the bigwigs in Japan. It's like everyone knows each other, and everybody hangs out with each other. Everybody drinks with each other. Everybody smokes with each other, and these relationships have been nurtured for a long, long time in friendship. And so I think Axis and Cave, I'm not going to name names, but they have this appeal to each other. And like, I mean, I'm sure these people know each other, and it was very smooth. It was a very smooth transaction, you know. So there wasn't any problems. It wasn't more like, yeah, you know, can we make your game? You know, we didn't get all American with them, but it's more like, hey, you know, let's do something. You need to be in America, you know. But I think it was easy because there was a friendship there, and that's the best way to approach the Japanese, I think, from my experience.
Just kind of like, like in a casual way, and they kind of nodded and were like, oh, I guess.
Yeah, that's pretty much how it works. I mean, you know.
Oh, like a very like off the cuff, and then maybe they bring it up again, and so it's like, no.
So I
Because they don't
suppose
like to say no, right? It's very
Mhm.
casual but serious, right? Or
Mhm. I think there
ah,
was a strong sense of camaraderie there between the bosses, and they're like, yeah, let's see what we can do.
so I suppose
oh,
Deathsmiles was a good choice for the first cave game to be localized because it was horizontal, right?
Yes, because some it's I don't know. Some people are like they understand it. They can get into it really fast.
Mhm.
The vertical ones are a little bit like scary. They like
And
Aqua's here talking about Raiden. So people
yeah,
start freaking out. They're like, oh my god, it's coming at me. You know, this one's a little more. The pace is a little bit. The pace is better for
well,
new gamers.
was okay. Deathsmiles was that wasn't their first game to have HD graphics, was it? I'm trying to remember, or was it Mushi Futari?
I Futari did.
Okay, yeah.
Um,
Well,
I
but
think the horizontal thing comes from, hey, people have fighting game players have, or everyone has like HD horizontal televisions, like it'll
right,
fill
right.
it up, right? So, okay, so Kairi, so it just says, hey, we might be doing Deathsmiles, and you go, you're really excited, and then,
Um, yeah, like let's do this. Like, what are requirements? Like, what do we need to do to get this out to the United States, and what's going to be acceptable? And like, I haven't really worked with the Japanese like on a close front like that before, so we have to be really careful with our product because they'll be very upset, and if anything goes weird, and they like to keep it, um, they like they like to have a lot of control. And I had like this is not like working with another American. We're working with the Japanese, and so I have to be very careful with what we do. And um, it's a lot of can we do this? No. Can we do this? Yes. Can we do that? No. So you like have to go down the list of things that we can and cannot do. And
okay.
it was a little difficult. I mean, but we made it happen.
So the person that was instrumental in getting that ball rolling was someone from higher up at Axis talking to someone at Cave, right?
Right.
And what was that? What was the core premise like driving it? Like, was there a reason or?
At the time, since the look of Deathsmiles is, I know I had lolis, and at the time,
Hmm.
cosplay was getting really big, and
So when you mean
and
lollies, you mean like gothic Lolita
gothic
fashion
lolis,
or
right?
sweet Lolita cosplay? Ah,
And anime at the time was at its peak, and a lot of our access, a lot of our niche followers, they were like really into that stuff, and we're like, this is definitely a game that like really calls to us, and I think it'll do really well. Like this is the game that we need to bring out now because this is its time.
because it was a cultural moment. Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
It was the look, the feel is something that I think American audiences would appreciate.
Mm.
It wasn't your, I'm in a spaceship shooting stuff, or it wasn't, I'm a person flying in the air shooting stuff, but it was specifically lollies, and it had that anime feel. And I'm like, this is something that, this is their time. This can come out right now.
Mhm.
People like this, and
Yeah,
they're
basically like a combo of like anime and Castlevania was kind of
right.
Deathsmiles at a very surface level.
Yeah.
I
So,
like to think.
I guess that goes to the next question. So, did Cave talk to you about expectations when you were coming out with them with this like, oh, it's the time?
Um, I think what they wanted to do is like they wanted us to give their game hype. They wanted us to like really get the American audience interested in Deathsmiles, but or in their games in general, because we wanted to do other games with them, but we gotta do the first game that's at hand,
I see.
and that was really difficult. We're in a new age where people like things just given to them, you know. At that time, what was really popular, God of War, where you press buttons, the synchronized cinematic stuff, and it's just
Mhm.
it just the player at that time was getting really dummied down. The person that plays the game doesn't really do anything, you know. They're given everything. And getting people interested in a shmup is really difficult because there's a lot of work at hand when you play a shmup. It's not like you don't get led by the hand. You'll learn by dying over and over and over again. And that was probably the scariest thing, is that, like, I love this game, but how am I going to get other people to love it and like appreciate it and understand what it's about when the market is flooded with these, you know, God of War type games, you know? And when that hit me, I'm like, wow, this is going to be really hard.
I see. To promote that kind of game. Aquas, you were talking about how people are getting kind of these skill-based games, right? Rather than, not to say these other games have skill, but these are very skill-intensive games, right?
Well, I mean, yeah. Well, like with Deathsmiles, I feel like, you know, when you play it right away, I mean, it's obviously it's 2D and it's got like the 3D kind of pre-rendered sprites. So that's already awesome, because if you have any people who like retro games or like 2D stuff, they're instantly going to be like, holy crap, this is the best 2D I've ever seen. What is Cave? Where can I see more of Cave? That type of thing. I think that's really an awesome appeal. But you know, basically, I think the instant appeal is just that, you know, it's really nice graphics, but then the explosions are really nice, and you just basically kick ass in Deathsmiles, and that's pretty much a lot of the Cave games. They're really good at the presentation. So I would have thought that, you know, that would have been enough to really suck people into enjoying Deathsmiles, basically. As far as you know, kind of learning it and getting better at it, you know, Deathsmiles has the level 1 stages, and then the level 2 and level 3, and those are the simple to the harder difficulties. And so that was also there. So it seemed like, you know, Deathsmiles was the perfect shmup. Seemed like it was the perfect shmup to kind of get people eased into. You know, ease them back into this idea that you know, shooting games are still being made, and this one in particular is super fresh with the 2D, with you know, Cave's signature awesome ass 2D graphics. I mean, shit. I remember when I first saw a Cave game. It was Mushimi-sama 1, and I was just like, this is the best 2D graphics I've ever seen. And then it was just like, from then on, it was just like you wanted to dig deeper into the rabbit hole. So with Deathsmiles, it's like that's basically what I was kind of hoping was going to happen with it. Is how people would, you know, be into that, and it seemed like, yeah, people do kind of get that. I mean, don't they?
Yeah, I hope so. Like,
but you know, I guess some things would say otherwise.
Yeah, you know, but like I said, we're keeping at this. Like, this is the philosophy of STG Weekly too, like to popularize these games.
I mean, it's like, obviously you have Deathsmiles, you know, up against the other modern games, so it's like you have that huge contrast of, I guess, might as well stereotype. It would be, the other stereotype would be Call of Duty players or first-person shooter players, or, you know, that's basically the other mostly popular thing. But, you know, you do have, you know, other niches, of course, you know, fighting game players and stuff like that, and people who you know, are older gamers, probably our age, you know, in their mid-20s and 30s, you know, that they were retro gamers. So you think that if a game like Deathsmiles came out, you know, basically next gen 2D, you know, they'd be all over it.
Yeah, that's true. So Kaire, so why Deathsmiles at us all, lolly smile back? You talk about the cosplay aspect, but where did this quote come from?
When I made the quote, I was trying to think of, like, we needed something to put on the box, and we needed something that's going to, like, evoke an emotion. And I know some people had some bad emotions towards it, and some people were like, what does that even mean? Like, really confused. Maybe not a good deal on my part. I did write it, because you're wondering, like, who wrote that? I wrote it.
The secret's out.
The secret's out.
Go
and
ahead.
now it's going to be brought to you.
Hate me up and down, you know. No, it's actually a quote from Marcus Aurelius, and it's not from Gladiator. A lot of people are like, that's a Gladiator quote. It's actually from literature, and the quote goes, "Death smiles at us all, And all a man can do is smile back. And since there's no men in this game, there's only girls. I thought about shmups in general before I started writing the kit for this, and I thought about like what a shmup does. It breaks you down. You know, it's a hard game. You know, all shmups are hard, and you know, and I'm not the best shmup player. I do play them. I play them for a pleasure, high score. I try, but really, it's going to be an ugly process of learning. And when you're in that process of learning, you get angry, and you're going to die over and over again. And the only thing you can do is be optimistic, and you know you're going to pull through at the end, and you're going to win. You're going to get better. And so I remember that quote. It's a war quote, actually. A lot of people use it. And it seems like, it feels like war. The barrage of bullets and the curtain hell, you know? And it's like, and I thought about that. I thought, yeah. And I remember that quote, and I'm like, could I play with that quote? Could I do something with it? So, yeah, you know, Deathsmiles at us all, a lolly smile back, you know? And that's where it comes from. And even though how silly it may sound, if you like know why I wrote it, hopefully that changes your mind.
No, that explanation, it just really brings it together.
That
like,
really does.
Because
I really felt strongly about that, and a lot of people made fun of it, and I was so sad. Well, even the girl at there's a my favorite person, Alice. I think it's on Alice Axis. She's a secretary. She's like, I know that quote. And I go, you do, thank you. But the problem is she was so much older, and it's like, it's such an ancient quote.
Yeah, that definitely probably went over a lot of heads.
I figured people that play shmups kind of are into like history. Maybe they might, I don't know. Maybe the connection was bad. But now everyone knows. So STG people, please spread the word.
Marcus Aurelius, one of the greatest commanders.
I love him. He's my favorite.
You know, I think he even wrote a manual on how to like be a man, or like this is right, and it's very interesting too. So read Marcus Aurelius and play shmups, STG players.
Please.
Because with the quote, I guess I assumed that, you know, the first part of it, Death Smiles at all of us. I just thought it was a pun on the name of the game, Death Smiles, right? so that part already went by, but so I didn't really understand, the kind of metaphor that you were going for. But
I tried to explain myself at PAX, and it just went on deaf ears. So I'm like, okay, never mind. but I know your viewers will appreciate it, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah, the explanation really helps. But yeah, other than that, it did kind of sound sinister and silly and awkward until I had the explanation. Yeah.
So
cool. We know.
So who wrote the description on the back of the Deathsmiles case? Beautifully crafted by the modern masters of shmups cave.
I didn't write that. Maybe my editor did. I did write we had like a press kit that went out, but I don't remember writing that sentence. But,
all right, awesome.
Hopefully, I'm not sure what everyone thought about that.
Okay. I like it. Pretty
curious,
nice, you know?
if that did Cave justice. I like this. I like the word they use, modern, because Cave does a really good job of making it different all the time, but keeping high standards. And I like that. They're not making the same gun, a spaceship game over and over again. It's I know some companies live off the repetition, and Japanese are very. I noticed about them, they like to do the same thing over and over and over again because it's hard, to make a new IP. And I like how Cave, they try to do something different. And Deathsmiles was very different, I think the last game they did that I enjoyed that was in the same orientation was Pro Gear. And I love Pro Gear because of
I love Pro Gear.
art, and I love how it was like industrial, and it had a really great color scheme. It was like light pastels, that were brushed, and I was like, really, it evoked an emotion, and I like what Cave does that. No other company does that for this genre. And
I was pretty proud of once you seen or one-alling Pro Gear last year, and I totally get what you're talking about. Like,
Yeah, Pro Gear is beautiful. I mean, and so
yeah.
is Deathsmiles, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So 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 that Exis likes to use cheeky marketing techniques, like Agorist Wars. And they did the same with Deathsmiles, which was your quote. But it didn't seem like it stirred much controversy like you had for the other games. Did you ever put out the BDSM Uber edition, or can you speak more to maybe something that you wanted to put out
There was
that
stuff we
didn't come
wanted
out?
to do that was a little crazy.
Uh-huh.
We just, I think Cave's such a traditional company. I don't think um, a lot of it when we kind of try to run it by them and explain why we want to do it, I don't think they wanted to hear it. Like,
Uh,
it was
or
just
it
too
got
much.
lost, or it got lost in translation, or there was a cultural thing
Yeah,
that didn't
we
translate.
had some really weird stuff we wanted to do just to do like tactics where like it's just so weird. Like, whoa, I need to have that. And even if that was the case, even if they said, "Oh, I want to have that," that's what we needed because we needed the exposure. We needed people to like Deathsmiles and to like it, they need to play it.
Which is so odd because wasn't there a rumor when Death Smiles was coming out in Japan that they released this series of drinks, right? That was supposed to be like the characters like urine or something like
Oh my
that, or
god, I don't know anything about that. I did remember the panties though. They made
yeah,
panties. They made these
yeah.
cute little bikini panties, and I was like, oh, I want some. I go, let's call Cave. I was just joking around. I'm calling Cave. I'm gonna ask for my panties, and we were just joking around, and I was like, I can't believe that. Why can't we put panties in the game? And that would totally sell it. Like everybody would want them. But
Yeah,
they didn't like them. They didn't. It's like it's okay in Japan, but it's not okay in America. It was
okay.
really weird. Like I was like, really? Okay. All right.
Hmm.
There's
Was the faceplate an attempt to rectify that at all? Then
the faceplate was something that they said yes to, and we're like, okay, we're gonna make a faceplate because
right.
you know that's cool. And
Yeah.
I think people would appreciate that. People hate not having any of those nice goodies, and our company, Axis, was known for like giving out cool stuff, and we need to have something cool in it. But yeah, there was things that I think there was one. I still have it in my box here. We had like a collar because Rose wears a collar around her neck,
Oh.
and we're like, yeah, let's make a collar and put the collar in there with the chain, and it'll say Deathsmiles, and then we'll have it embossed, and everyone would wear it to cons, and they did not like that idea at all.
Oh.
And and I have it right here, like I'm holding it right here.
Wow.
Sample, and it doesn't have Deathsmiles on it, but it's a sample we were gonna use, and I kept it when I left. And I'm like, this will remind me that I was badass at one time.
Wow, that is really cool. So that's like a one-off thing that you were
That
doing
would have
as
been
like
the
a
crazy
prototype?
thing. People would, yeah, they're like, I need to have that collar.
So that would have been like the
The
boxers from Catherine, pretty much.
Right. Yeah, it pretty much was in our boxers, yeah. But we're like, what do people like? What do people wear? We're like, yeah, that collar. Dudes wear them. Girls wear them. Yeah, that's pretty unisex. Do it. So that was turned down.
Yeah.
All right, well, let's go on to some game questions. So, like, how was the decision made to give the characters very heavy regional accents in the dialogue text, and did players' reactions to it surprise you?
A lot of people didn't like it. I know that they didn't like it. A lot of big fans of of the genre. They were like, just why don't you just have the text? I remember, that's all we need is the text. I go, if you would have listened to the text translated in English, you would have been like, oh my god, this is horrible.
Horrible in what way?
It just doesn't make sense. A lot of it was just like real bland, and it was strange because they were from different countries, but they didn't really represent those countries. And I think localization, and since I'm not part of that department, the editing and stuff like that, the actual localizing into English, they wanted to make them different from each other. Like they weren't all the same little girl, because from what I heard from localization is that they were saying they all sound the same. Like they don't even have like one girl you know, she's from this country and she doesn't even evoke that, you know, and so they decided to give them, I guess. I remember Casper. Is she the one that spoke like she had like a French accent or something?
Or German? Was she German, right? Or
I don't remember. It's been such a long time. But yeah, they would make it so she would speak a certain way, so we could differentiate them from each other because they didn't. They sounded like just one girl talking all the time.
oh, so
Gotcha.
who was your favorite character? So was Casper your favorite character? And,
Yeah, Casper is my favorite.
yeah.
She's she moves really fast, and I like how she has scissors. Like, it's so weird. Like, why scissors?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Get that like at all? I like she carries scissors.
That bit of her reminds me of the antagonist from Clock Tower, one, who has he's like a little hunchback like mole man with a big set of scissors, and so I just think of him when I see Casper.
Theory, since yeah, that's cool. That guy's scary.
That's
though.
probably
Oh my
what
gosh.
if I had to guess, that's probably a reference to that.
You know what? That would make sense because he's all into he was like God in the 90s, you know?
I guess then I guess Clock Tower, never really came to the States though, but it was a Super Famicom game.
I think Casper's aspect is listed as like the death aspect, right? Like whereas
Yeah, they had like the different elements, right?
Yeah, so death from the aspects of like the three fates that like spin your fate, one spins your thread, other one weaves it, and the last one they have a pair of scissors or a blade and they cut your life thread, and that's
Hey.
what causes your death. So I'll like to throw that in the mix too. So
Yeah, well, it seems like it was partly Cave's fault that leaving like the dialogue of these characters so bland when like their designs were actually a lot seem to leave a lot of room for actual personality.
yeah,
Sounds like that was the case.
I wish Jinya would have said something.
yeah, right.
He'd be like, my girls are like this. I'd be great if he would have just called us and told us and got a translator. Like, how are your girls really like? Like, please tell me. Have a pen and paper. I'm ready.
It's a little odd because Cave is usually just they're very robust with their backgrounds and characters and settings. So to find that the girls were lacking in personality. Like, do you think maybe it was like that because they're all just just very young, so they didn't have much personality? Like, but it looked like, judging by their appearance, though, they do.
I mean, yeah, like Rose, she's like kind of sexy and like
right.
She's older. She's the oldest. And you would think like, why does she have? Obviously her chain's been broken. She has to have some background. I mean, did she escape her master? I would love to like. I wish there was more content, or maybe there was. Maybe they didn't get to us. I mean, I know I'm like putting that out there. I mean, maybe there was some stuff that they didn't want us to put in there. I don't know.
As I recall, one of the characters, I think it was, so in Deathsmiles, the story was that the characters all had accidents in the real world. Wasn't that what happened? And then, like they went to the Nether or something like that. Am I on the right track here?
Yeah,
I thought I remember that.
Like the yeah.
Like one of them got in a car accident. So there's
one of them did get in a car accident.
So there's like kind of this like deep, the deep sense of death in the game.
Right. It's kind of like Deathsmiles is like not limbo, but like purgatory.
Right.
It's a lot like purgatory, and because in the second one story I know really well, the Christmas one, that was crazy. Like Dior, their daddy, their Rena-daddy.
Yeah.
Beard man. Get a beard.
Poor Dior. Santa Claus comes in through the window and he kills Dior, and the girls are like, "No, Daddy!" And they're all younger. Like I don't know. Like the time is so weird. I remember that story really well, but the first Deathsmiles is kind of strange. So yeah, everyone had accidents, and they're in this world, and they have to save this world because they feel like they must save the world from this corruption that's in this world because they have nothing better to do, and so they fly to the rescue, because they feel that they've been summoned to this world to save it. It's so weird. Like, at least the second one had a story. Like, their Renadad, died, and they're like, they need to, kill Santa Claus because he's ruining Christmas. And
Yeah. Yeah, Soft Drink said it was Gilverado, and then so it was like a dimension, just where the girls were trapped, I guess. So.
Yeah, what is Tyranno Satan's story? Do you know? he's a weird undead dinosaur. That's
Yeah.
oh wow.
Well, what's his name? Shuttlebug or whatever, or what? Jitterbug.
Yeah.
Wasn't it his creation? Man, we don't really know much. Do we?
Yeah.
And like, how about Mary? Like, where'd that come from? Like, the cow?
What? Yeah.
Well,
Devonica.
I think it's safe to say a lot of the stuff in Gilverado can't be like held accounted for, though.
So, are there any other factoids that you'd like to share about Deathsmiles in that respect, Kaire?
Let's see.
Something that we may not know, like that hasn't been mentioned.
Or certain details that we skipped over earlier that you might want to add on. Let's see here. Leave a case.
Sure, that's about it.
Okay, we'll keep on going.
It'll probably come up. It comes up all interject.
Yeah. So, okay, we'll go back to some marketing questions. Was there any other discussion on bringing further cave titles? Like, and what were the obstacles that stalled such an attempt?
This, shmups in general, they're really hard to bring out in the United States. When Access says they're satisfied, they were satisfied. We made Cave happy. We satisfied our end, but another undertaking like that would have been really difficult. And I think that's the reason why we didn't bring out any more here in the United States. And that's not Access's fault. That's not Cave's fault. It's the gamers. This generation is very difficult to deal with. And you can ask anyone that's trying to bring out console games in this arena right now. It's just the tastes of the modern gamer are really lazy, and I feel bad because these games are masterpieces that Cave makes. And I feel bad for other companies too that want to bring out, their games, localize their games to the United States. But it's just that the tastes of Americans are like, right now they're just really stagnant. Like we only like 3 types of genres right now, and it's kind of gross. There's no room for this type of game, and it's sad. There's the only way we can do it is if like what you guys do here, conventions where there's more exposure to like how great this type of genre is, to hype it up and to show people, just give them a couple of minutes to play it and to let it sink in. That's the only way to get people to play these games. And I think exposure is really important. I think that's why Cave has started doing a lot of mobile games, is because they need people to get a taste of it so they get hooked. And the best way to do that is to give like a light version of the game on mobile so they can play it a little bit and go, yeah, this game is pretty sick. I'm going to download it, That's kind of like what everyone's kind of doing. That if you have these weird type of genres that other people are not interested in, not used to, there has to be some type of sampling of it. And if you don't have that, no one's going to give your game a chance.
I guess, the newest thing by Cave, they did that Donpachin mobile game, which has kind of some shmup elements and RPG elements, but it seems like that's a perfect example of them trying to just let people know, that, it's still happening, there's still, these are still games.
Yeah, speaking of which, I just want to say that, I've been doing a lot of STG Weekly live events at the anime conventions. And now we're going to go to SoCal Regionals, which is one of the biggest fighting game tournaments on the West Coast. So, again, guys, for those that are watching, please join us this Saturday. Kaire's going to be there. I'm going to be there. Yeah. So come on down, and, I'm probably going to we have prizes support from New Media and Rockin' Androids giving us game codes.
Oh, that's really cool. I like them.
Yeah. So big ups to New Media and Rockin' Android. They're, localizing Dojin shmups and giving us codes so you guys can win them as prizes. So
I do what I do like still, as far as the presence of like shooting games still in like modern games is you have the occasional title which does get pretty good exposure as far as to do with the genre. I guess the example I'm thinking of is a game like Geometry Wars, which would be like an arena, basically an arena shooter is what it's called. But um, if like I don't know, I heard this recently, but apparently, the Geometry Wars game was in. I'm kind of going on a tangent, but that was actually in like another game as a mini game, like a Midnight Club or something like that,
Oh, really?
or one of the modern racing games. It was just a mini game, like in a garage in the game, that you could play as an arcade game, and then that's where Geometry Wars came from. And then Geometry Wars, that was I mean, it was pretty massively popular. Like, everyone, like a lot of people who have an Xbox or in this generation have probably played it. And I think like, every now and then we have a release that has the possibility of getting kind of more hype into the genre. I guess kind of another recent example I could think of would be Resogun on the PS4.
Yes.
Yeah, and which is really really damn cool, like looking game, and it has pretty much shmup gameplay, very arcadey gameplay, and the fact that it was a launch day title on the PS4 is just really neat because people play it and they're like, oh, it's a shooter. Like people are kind of recognizing that this is a shooter. Hey, why is it a launch day title on the PS4? Well, it just must be just some like throwaway game. They said to have something on here, but no, I think when people play that one, they're like, yo, this is badass. Like, and I guess
Encourage people, indie game developers to put things on Xbox and PlayStation right now because there's nothing on these systems. You will have total coverage. Like right now, if you're holding out on bringing your game out, do it now because
nothing's coming out.
Download it. They will download. There's nothing out, and everyone will see your game. Like you go into the little menu and you're looking at games, there are not that many in there, and yours will be at the top, and that will be for free, So I think everyone should take advantage of that if you have.
Actually, I'm reminded. So Deathsmiles, the North American version, is actually on demand as of just like 5 days ago, or something like this. You can download it for I think $15 on demand. So that's pretty cool. I guess I don't know where I was going with that really, but the fact that it's there now is good.
So guys, maybe we can open this up to the chat and see if anyone wants to ask any questions. And Kaire, you can feel free to say to answer them or not, depending on like how intrusive they are. So, but we'd like to open it up to chat, so you guys come on and ask some questions that we might have not covered, and I'll interject as they come up. So, but is there anything else that we feel like we're kind of winding down a little bit? Is there anything else you guys want to talk too?
Do we want to talk about Cho Aniki?
Yeah. Okay. So existed the localization of Cho Aniki Zero on the PSP. Can you talk about that and like how did that get brought out?
I can't say what company I work for, but like I did some game testing for it, and that game was so great. Like it was so fun to play. I know it's not like one of those like super those shmups that you go tell your friends about, like, oh, I once CC'd this game. But it was just so ridiculous.
I did tell my friend I once CC'd it.
Did you? What did he say?
He was like, you spend $15 on that?
That story.
Yeah.
Fabulous. And
that's just me, though.
The old PC Engine game, it's so great. Like, the story alone is just wonderful, and the characters are ridiculous, and there's so many sexual innuendos.
Yes.
There's so many, like, the banter between brothers and the baby sperm. It's great.
Yeah, it was hilarious to like, yeah, those little scenes in between the stages.
Aquas, you have to admit that you were entertained. Those $15 were well spent.
Oh, it was good.
Yeah,
I definitely.
Yeah, we did an episode of STG Weekly, and I was like, we got to do a Cho Aniki one. And it was really good. It was one of the best episodes.
I liked it. You know, when you game over, you know, it's the two the muscle men and they're wrestling.
Samson and Adon.
Yeah, but like, you know, to actually like make the continue, you gotta rapidly tap the button, and then it makes them like grunt, and then it,
That's right.
and eventually you mashed it enough, and like a bouquet of flowers bursts like onto the screen, and then they like both release and like make a loudy shout, and you get to continue your game.
Hey,
There's no dying in this game.
yeah.
But I thought it was interesting because you know, Cho Aniki Zero came out before Deathsmiles. I believe that's right. So it's like, to me, it was like Axis was getting a little preparation for Deathsmiles with Cho Aniki Zero. I just thought it was so odd that the game actually came out. Like, we could almost, almost kind of want to like learn about why Cho Aniki Zero got localized now.
Well, it was a digital download. There was no hard release, so I get maybe they were testing the waters. At the,
It seems like such an odd choice.
it was just so weird. I'm like, you know what? Some people might just buy this because it's so weird. You know?
Yeah.
And it's got one of those. It doesn't have a fan base, but people know of it, and they're like, yeah, I might want to buy this just to say I have it.
It's definitely on like a lot of the like weird game lists that people do.
That's true.
People get to Cho Aniki eventually.
So we were gonna come down to the infamous Slowdown.
Yeah, we got some
differences
questions here.
between the U.S. and Japan versions.
Yes,
And
we
I
can talk
thought
a bit about that.
I thought when you talked about early, like framing it in the terms of console versus arcade development, maybe you could speak to that without pointing fingers or what, so to say, Kaire. So
I know that's a big concern. And I know the slowdown is important for certain parts in any game because sometimes it gives you some help, and also it gives it it becomes very authentic. And it's very close to, you know, PCB.
but that was like limitations, like hardware limitations.
Yeah, it was. I mean, like I said before, I think it has a lot to do with the transition from console, from PC. And like I said, like programmers for PCB or programmers for console, they don't like each other. And there may have been some, and this is like just what I think, okay? This is not what really is going down. I just think that there wasn't very good communication. That's the reason why it may have not been the way they managed it to be. And that's probably why they apologized for it. Like they're, you know, the right hand doesn't do what the left hand, doesn't know what the left hand is doing. So that may have been one of the reasons, but I don't know, you know.
So one of the main speculations of the slowdown not being present in the first version of the Deathsmiles has actually been patched since then. Was that the slowdown wasn't there because American gamers would think that the game is like it's not good enough to actually like, you know, go through it without the slowdown. Like a speculation was that
they would think it was the hardware's fault or
the game, the game was struggling or something, or that it was bad. So then the speculations came. You didn't want the Americans to think that like their game is just it will run at 60 FPS like, you know, any other Call of Duty.
But what ended up happening was American players, at least the shmup enthusiasts, were like, well, we want to play in the same world that the Japanese players have been playing in.
Yeah, eventually, that there were voices were heard. Yeah,
that's a big thing. It's like, how can you approximate the Japanese experience, you know? Partly it's because like, so you're on that same you're in that same world, you know, like even though that Japanese players got it first and they're very far ahead, you know, it's almost like playing in that same culture by their rules, you know.
If you have the slowdown.
Yeah,
Right,
yeah.
right,
That's what I
right.
thought.
Well,
Too.
yeah. I
Like,
mean it. Yeah.
I mean, that's why I collect PCB hardware, you know, and I have tabs. It's like that authenticity is a big thing. Um, but but Kairi, this is a great accomplishment, I must say. Like to be able to, I remember when you came to the shmup meet, and I was like, I was running around trying to do 20 things at once, and I was like, oh, I need to talk to Kairi, and like, and I think I recognized you because I had met you when I went to the con, and I wanted to thank you personally for putting out Deathsmiles, and it's really neat. Like some years later, that you got to come at. I didn't even have the show STG Weekly. You know, it hadn't even been um, put out yet, and so to be able to have you back on, I think will be a testament to how Death Smiles will be in the future. I think it'll be like one of those, you know, how those PlayStation RPGs that were very plentiful at the time, and
Mhm.
then just end up becoming like a super collector item because they finally get caught up, like the public catches up to it, you know. And I think this is how it's going to play out in my sincere hopes, you know. But I've been around a while.
Yeah. Well, like yeah. For me, my theory on kind of gaming right now is like the trend of like kind of easy like hold your hand gaming is gonna reverse itself. Like people are gonna get tired of it, and they're gonna want like a more rewarding experience. Perhaps probably maybe like kind of the more mainstream skill-based gamers when like kind of first-person shooters, I guess would be the main thing because a lot of people like gamers who were into FPS games, myself included. They liked playing them because they got an adrenaline rush from playing, basically, and eventually though it's like you want something else, and that was for me. Like I don't know, I stopped playing first person shooters with Day of Defeat Source, like I don't know, 10 years ago or something. But like after that, I was like I didn't know what to play anymore because like nothing was like getting the adrenaline going. And I think gamers are gonna want to find something that gets that adrenaline going again. And
Yeah.
when there's something that has a good exposure, and they can see that like this guy, he put in the time. He's doing the stage or the boss in such a way that's like amazing. It's clear like as a spectator
As a
that
spectator sport, you
that
know.
something awesome is happening. I think yeah, people will probably go back to a lot of these titles that were released on the Xbox and even the PS2, like Raiden 3 or something like that, or probably I guess there's a good decent amount of shmups on the Xbox and PS3, so like I think people hopefully will come around basically,
You
but
know that I've seen a lot, like
it's
just
probably a long time coming still.
no, I'm pretty sure it'll have your like what you said is like I think that's true. People are gonna get sick of what they're playing right now, and they're gonna go back to these retro type games, or they have their history in retro.
Mm,
They're gonna come back because I see it in the arcade. There's been a big flip at my arcade with type of people there. They're not too much FGC people. We're getting more couples and groups coming in, and I've seen the couples. They play. That's the first thing they go to are the shmups because it's 2-player co-op,
mm,
and
Mm.
it's a game that they both don't play, and so there's an even playing field. And I noticed that they're not gonna play Street Fighter together. Are you serious? He's gonna like destroy her, or vice versa. I've seen girls who are good at Street Fighter,
mm.
and I like shmups because they know they both don't play it, and so they both play together
Yes.
and they learn together, and that's awesome. I've seen it so many times. We have Shikigami no Shiro 3 at my
Mhm.
arcade, and I always see couples play that game.
Mhm.
Oh
And
wow,
It's really
that
cool
is
because
great.
it
yeah,
makes me very happy. I really like seeing that, and I hope that keeps on going. And I hope that
I
they
think that's a really, definitely a strong appeal um, of the genre. And even Frenetic, I said, no, you're going to try to have a two-player setup at SoCal Regionals, right?
Yeah, we're gonna try to have fun.
So that people can just, unconditionally just play, 'Cause
Yeah,
that's really the main thing. They just have
yeah.
to unconditionally play the game.
Just come on here and play it, and then we'll have something like that fighting game players are familiar with, which is like, okay, whoever gets the highest score will win this match or whatever like that. And
Oh yeah.
then they can play. They go like, oh, this is a fighting game, but well, I have to beat this other person in score. So we're gonna try that tack with co-op.
So
Well,
it's very possible that there could be a catalyst for shooting games where co-op play is what gets people back into it. Like there could be like a really really good co-op shmup that could be it, because if that may not be your Ketsui first person or one player fucking penultimate shmup experience, but it's gonna get people wanting to play and just understanding the core idea of a shmup, and that's to survive as long as possible.
yeah.
while skillfully dodging or whatever, skillfully shooting.
Kaire, is there anything else you'd like to leave the viewers with or talk about before we go?
Well, if I could put in a shameless plug here.
Yeah.
I have a game group. We're trying to make a shmup. I was telling a little bit about it. I'm looking for programmers that are in the LA area. All of my friends were all alumni from various schools, and we're doing this for fun. We're not trying to make money off of it. But it's funny that you guys were saying, what if there was a co-op shmup game? And we've created one, and we just need good programmers to sit down with us and for us to go through documents and see if there'd be something they'd be interested in doing. Everybody works for free on my team. We just need some dedicated programmers that would like to undertake this, and we want to make a PCB of it. I would like to support my dying industry, not support console and mobile. They're on their own. They're fine. Arcade is struggling and it needs new stuff, and nobody wants to help it. Nobody wants to give it something that's uniquely only for them. And I'm willing to pay the money to have it developed, and I just need any programmers that was interested in working on PCB development. I would love to hear from you. If you could contact maybe Frenetic or Aquas or something like that to get get hold of information. I'm really putting my hand out there because there's so many programmers that are they need all this money to make games, and that's not the whole thing is not for me to make money. It's for me to save the arcade industry. And if I could just put a really good game out there to have people come back, that would just be enough for me. And if they would like to contribute in any way, I would love that. So if they could contact me, you guys, and we can get together, anybody local would be great,
Okay, yeah. We can post that in the dev area, and we'll post it on the feed and see what happens on our Twitter, and we'll refer them to you.
Sounds great.
Yeah, let's get this off the ground. We could do it!
Yay!
The thing about arcades is you gotta have that game that people it gets a crowd,
Mm-hmm.
and when we have one just that one game that gets a crowd, other people are gonna want to play it,
and other people want to develop. That's the whole thing. It's just not me. I want someone else to compete against me. I can make a better game than you. And then they open up a wider market for this, for arcade only, because the experience there is much different than at home. And I want that. I want people to experience that again. I've had people come to arcade. They're I've never been to arcade before. This place is awesome, and you have no idea. I wish the owner can hear that. And it's as long as people keep on developing games for arcade, it'll stay open. But the problem is no one's developing. I think only the ones I can think of in Taiwan, they actually still make carts for certain games, and it's crazy. It shouldn't be that hard.
So you would prefer new arcade games rather than just having your old classics, or ones to choose from?
I would prefer newer games. Our generation, we play games, the old games, and we love them, and sometimes some stuff comes out on console that's similar to the old stuff, but we really need to try to make new games for arcade. People will play them if they have them, but no one wants to take a chance.
Is it simply the idea that if it's new, people want to try it?
Yeah, that's all it.
Okay.
That's all it is. And then they sit down this is a good game. We'll sit longer.
That is something.
Maybe we could work out where console gaming is where you go to work and grind it out, and then the arcades are a place where you perform, and then you'll perform on this game. So maybe we can try to keep on moving that forward.
People are mentioning Jamestown as a great co-op shmup, and yes,
that is a great game.
Yes, it is.
That game is
co-op.
I think I played it the first time at Frenetic, so I'm oh my god, there's so many people on this screen. It's so great. if that was only a PCB, I would put it in my arcade. I would even like make a cabinet for it. Like I'd strip down like an old Simpsons.
That would be sick.
That would be
that'd
so
be
great.
so cool.
I should be done. That should be done.
I will talk to the owner. I'm like, I was thinking of a little project we can do.
Yeah.
Jamestown is really quite good, I
It
must
is
say.
a good game. It was such a good. I'm really big on narrative. Like, if you have a good narrative, and then everything falls into place, it gets them. It gets the player ready because they kind of know what's happening, and then the gameplay comes in, the music. It's like a symphony, and it has to, and that's good game design. I hope. I wish Jamestown was a PCB. That would be so great. I think it would do really well in arcades. People love 4-player games.
Yeah, just last episode we covered Crimson Clover, and that was a indie game that went to arcade.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, it's happening.
Oh. They need to really.
And Trouble Witches was also another one that was indie, and then became an arcade game. I think Trouble Witches Neo or whatever, which is also on Xbox Live Arcade. Fun one. You were gonna say?
Oh no, I'm good.
Okay. Well, I don't know. Suppose we're wrapping it up, eh?
Yeah.
Well, this has been really awesome.
This is a really awesome episode. Great episode for number 50 for STG Weekly. Thanks for coming on, Kaire. It's really...
Thanks so much.
I'll see you at SoCal.
Yeah. Come by and say hello. And we're still trying to keep the faith alive. And shmups in the bring your own console room. And hopefully we'll get this more exposure,
It really just needs, I think, a couple big catalysts, and then it's just gonna snowball. Like that's what I think is gonna happen. Like another example is just the Flappy Bird stuff that's been going on lately. Like
I saw Magneto. Did you guys see that one?
No, I didn't. What was that?
You need to find it. It's hilarious.
Okay, all right.
But like just the fact that it's that was a simple and challenging game. Like the same. It could have easily been like a hybrid shmup game or something,
Yeah, like you have like cute bullets and like you dodge like different cute bullets for each
So it's
way.
like people want to be challenged, but they don't want to be like, they don't want to go into it like, I don't know what people are just dumb.
Yeah.
But you sound like the arcade. People are just dumb. People play that. It is frustrating though, you want people to have a passion for something that you're really into, and like you think they would like it, and they're just like, nah, I'm good.
Like you should, if you get past the 10th pipe in Flappy Bird, like it should just cut to Gradius 1, and like you're playing Gradius 1.
Yeah, it's like, oh my god,
that would be the greatest troll. Like,
and like, oh well, now I gotta play Gradius to get further in Flappy Bird. Oh, okay.
And they're like, wait a minute, I like this mini game in Flappy Bird called Gradass.
Gradass.
Where can I play more of this? Yeah, something needs to be done.
Or like from Mystical Ninja Goemon, when you go to the theme park and you play Gradius.
See?
It's just about exposure, So hopefully we get that, and yeah. So this has been a really cool episode for episode number 50. Hell yeah. I don't know what the next one is, but yeah, thank you, Kaire, for coming on, and it's a pleasure talking with you.
Yeah, thank you for coming on.
And Soda, thank you for streaming. Yeah, it was quite enjoyable.
Yay, Soda! Always a pleasure having Soda on.
Yep.
And yeah, I suppose Deathsmiles had us all. Lolly smile back. So there you go.
Yeah, you heard it here on STG Weekly. Why they smile back.
I'm gonna, that'd be a good quote to put on your tombstone, I think.
Yeah.
Like when it.
I'm curious. What do people think of that? I'm not reading your chats, but like, am I forgiven for thinking?
Yeah, I think so.
Am I forgiven just a little bit?
Yes, they are. They now understand. Go. Oh, it's Marcus Aurelius, of course.
Of course, yeah, duh.
Duh. Stupids.
But it's a really good quote though. I think you succeeded because it had the controversy, It did, but you know, maybe for the wrong reason. But yeah, good stuff. All right, well, that's gonna do it for us. So thanks everyone for watching, and it's been episode 50. All right, take care.
Take it